One hen laid 364 eggs in 365 days. No electric light, no bag of chemistry, just a bird, a yard, and the daylight the good Lord gave her. She did it at a laying trial in Australia in the 1920s, a big black bird called an Australorp, and for a little while she was the most famous chicken in the world. 6 of her kind, penned together, averaged better than 300 eggs apiece across a full year, on nothing but what the yard and a handful of grain gave them. Your great-grandparents knew a bird like that, knew her the way you know how to work a phone. And today, most folks couldn't keep a hen alive through one winter, let alone laying. The ones who do try get handed a bird that quits in 2 years and can't hatch you another to save its life. But here's the twist, friend. That famous hen wasn't a freak. She was ordinary, once. And the thing that made her ordinary is the exact thing they made good and sure you'd forget. What that bird belonged to has a name. It's the dual-purpose farm flock. One bird bred to do every job at once. And by the time we're done here, you'll be able to run one yourself. Not a hobby, not a cute little coop for the grandkids. Eggs on your table for years. Meat at the end. And next spring's birds hatched in your own yard for nothing. A flock that feeds you and renews itself and owes no store a single dime. Before we go on, there's something coming for this country, and the news won't say a word about it till it's already on your doorstep. It comes down to one number, 3 days. That's what the stores hold for you. Your grandfather's pantry held a winter, and the difference was never money, it was knowing. 904 pages of that knowing in one book. Water, fire, curing, canning, the plants that heal and the ones that kill. SilasMercer.shop, links below. All right, back to it. There's one thing this bird does that the store will never sell you, because the day you can do it, they've lost you for good. We'll get there. It's the whole reason they made her disappear. I'm Silas Mercer. 7th generation on this ridge. My people have held it since the 1790s. Everything I'm about to hand you, my grandfather Eli copied into a leather journal by lamplight. The same systems that fed 8 of them off this mountain clean through the Depression. He made me swear the old ways wouldn't die with me. This is me keeping my word. None of this faded because it stopped working, neighbor. The hatchery and the feed store need you buying a new bird and a new bag forever. And there's no money in a hen that feeds and replaces herself. By the time this is over, you'll know the whole of it, the same way a mountain family knew it without ever opening a book. Which bird, what she really lays, and what's a tall tale. How she keeps herself half-fed off your own ground. Why she outlasts the store bird 3-1. And the one piece they worked hardest to bury. The piece that turns a nice little flock into a flock that never sends you back to the store again. You'll be able to do every part of it. That's a promise. Before we get into it, tap subscribe. Not for me, because we're pulling the old self-reliance back onto the homestead. And you'll want the next one the feed store would rather you never relearned. There are 6 pieces to running this bird right. And most folks who try it miss one and go and blame the chicken. We'll take the bird herself first. Then the truth about that famous number. Because the title you clicked is half a lie, and I'm going to tell you which half. Then why she's hardy when the store bird's fragile. And I'll be straight with you there too, because no bird alive never gets sick. Then the feed bill she kills. Then why she lasts when the modern hen burns out. And last, the buried piece. We build to it. So the question was never just what we lost, friend. It's who's getting paid because we forgot, and how you take it back and owe them nothing. First piece, the bird herself. Not a laying machine, not a meat bird, both at once, and that one word matters more than anything else I'll tell you today. Dual purpose. Picture a big glossy black hen in the morning sun, feathers throwing back a green shine like a beetle's shell, heavy in the hand, calm around your boots. That's an Australorp. That's a whole farm's worth of poultry in one animal. She's a true standardized old breed, built down in Australia out of imported black Orpingtons, crossed with Rhode Island Red and a touch of Minorca and Leghorn and Langshan, and bred hard for one thing: use, not ribbons. A bird that lays heavy and still dresses out as a real table bird when her laying days are done. A big rooster runs 7 to 9 pounds. A hen, 5 to nearly 7. Big enough that the extra cockerels and the old spent hens are dinner, not waste. One bird. Eggs, meat, and, we'll get to it, more of herself. 3 jobs. No catalog. The old man kept one flock. Not a layer flock and a meat flock and a standing order to the hatchery. One flock that did the lot. Up here, we just called that a chicken. They taught you to call it inefficient. Now understand, this didn't slip anybody's mind. Between 1946 and 48, the A&P grocery chain and the United States Department of Agriculture ran a contest they called the Chicken of Tomorrow. The whole point was to breed a bird that grew meat faster and cheaper for the supermarket case. And a pair of brothers named Vantris won it with a cross nobody's grandmother had ever kept. And what came next? The record says it plain. The sturdy, free-living, weather-tolerant purebreds that had run American barnyards for near 100 years vanished from commercial use. Today, about 9 billion meat birds a year in this country trace back to that one turn. The dual-purpose bird didn't fail, friend. She got voted off the shelf. Now here's the honest of it, because I won't sell you a fairy tale. A dual-purpose bird won't outlay a specialized layer at her very peak, and she won't outmeet a broiler. That's true. She was never built to win one contest. She was built to win all of them at once, for years, off your yard. And the reason they gave for replacing her was real enough. Cheaper eggs, cheaper meat, more of both. That part's true. And that's exactly why I won't hand you a conspiracy. Not a cabal, neighbor, just how markets work. But a bird that feeds herself and hatches her own kind is a bird nobody gets to sell you twice. The specialized bird has to be rebought. That is not an accident. That is the whole business model. And if you've got the modern bird sitting in your coop right now, that is not on you. So does half the country. They spent a fortune teaching your parents it was the smart choice. You were handed a bird that can't do what this one does, and told it was better. Here's your first step this week. Just look up one dual-purpose heritage breed, Australorp, and find one hatchery or one local breeder that keeps them. That's it. Don't buy a thing yet. Just learn that the old birds still exist. Now, that famous number in the title, 365 eggs a year. Next, I'm going to tell you exactly how much of that is true and how much of it is bait, because the truth is better than the lie. Second piece, the number they put in that title. Let's take it apart honest, because if I let a lie stand right here, you'd be right to never trust another word out of my mouth. 365 eggs a year. An egg every single day without fail for a year. No bird does that as a rule. Not this one, not anyone that ever lived. So no, she does not lay 365 a year. That's the bait, and I'm cutting it out. What she really does, a good utility Australorp in a strong year is 250 to 300 eggs. A showbred line, less than that, closer to 200. Big, tinted, light brown eggs, a steady handful of them. And here's why that still buries the store bird. She lays that year after year, not in one hard sprint. Fewer at the peak, far more across a whole life. Now the record, because it is real, and it's where the lie got born. 1922 into 23 at Geelong in Australia. 6 of these hens penned together laid 1,857 eggs in a single year. That's an average of 309.5 eggs apiece. And here's the part the intensive shed hopes you skip clean over. They did it with no artificial light. No lamp tricking their bodies into overtime. Daylight and feed and a good, honest bird. You now pay somewhere around $3.60 for a dozen eggs at the store, and it was near $4.70 at the worst of it a year back. A flock like this hands you that carton every few days and never once mails you a bill. Now miss this, and you'll feel cheated come November when she slows right down. Every hen molts and rests in the short days. That is health, neighbor, not failure. Push a bird to lay straight through it with lights and tricks, and you get the store's bird, burned out young. And the lie in that title isn't an accident either. A bird sold to you on a number you can never actually hit is a bird you'll feel you failed. So off you go to buy a better one. The disappointment is the product. Sit with that a second. This week, just count. However many eggs your family buys in a week, that right there is the bill this bird is built to erase. Write that number down. That's your target, not 365. Next, the other half of that title, never gets sick. I'm going to tell you the truth about that one too. And the truth is right where the old bird actually wins. Third piece. And the second half of that title. They told you this breed never gets sick. Let me be the one to tell you straight. There is no such bird. No breed alive never gets sick. Anybody who tells you different is selling you something. What is true, and it's a far bigger truth, is that a heavy old dual-purpose bird like this one is hardy in a way they bred clean out of the store hen. She's dense-feathered and cold-hardy. She'll lay right on through a hard mountain winter when the light, flighty breeds have quit cold. Sturdy in the body, forgiving of a first-timer's mistakes. But she's a dark, heavy bird, so she feels the heat. In high summer, she needs shade and cool water, or she will suffer for it. That's the one part you do not skip. Here's the honest proof, and it's the opposite of a miracle. Merrick's disease lives in nearly every flock in this country. Every one. The lighter, harder-driven laying strains tend to catch it worse. The heavier dual-purpose birds tend to shrug more of it off. That is not immunity, friend. That is hardiness. And keepers vaccinate their chicks against it as a plain matter of course. Cheap and simple. A hardy bird and a little sense will beat a fragile bird and a prayer every time. So here's where I head you honest. Don't you buy a bird because some title promised you it cannot die. Buy the hardy one. Give her shade in July. Get her chicks the common Merrick's vaccination when you start out. Keep her yard clean. Do that, and you've got a bird that will outlast anything sitting in that store case. And that fragile bird isn't some bug in their system. A bird that sickens and quits is a bird you replace. Hardiness was never what they were breeding for. Numbers on a page were. This week, one thing. If you ever do get chicks, ask the hatchery for the Merrick's vaccination. It is a box you check. Cost almost nothing. And understand me, this isn't bunker and beans doom talk. I am not selling you fear or the end of the world. Half of this is just thrift your grandmother would have called plain, common sense. Now we get to money. Real money. The kind that leaves your pocket every single week. Pattern break. Everything so far your grandfather could have taught you across one afternoon out in the yard. What's coming is where it turns into money and independence. And then last, the piece they bred out of the store bird on purpose in a laboratory. The piece that does the real work. Stay in the yard with me. Fourth piece, the bag. That weekly sack of feed the store bird cannot live an hour without. This bird here was built to shrink it. Give an Australorp room to range, a yard, a run, a rotated patch of grass, and she'll hunt down a real share of her own dinner. Bugs, grubs, greens, your kitchen scraps that were headed for the bin anyhow. She is a genuine forager. Now, I won't hang you some fake number on exactly how much she saves because it swings with your ground and your season. But any old-timer will tell you a ranging heritage hen eats less bought feed than a bird locked up in a box. Good layer ration for the rest. 16% protein. Clean water, always. Little grit, little oyster shell for the shells. Range for the savings, feed for the steady, scraps for the waste you'd have thrown out anyhow. Here's the bill she's chipping away at. A 50-pound bag of layer feed runs about $15 to $20 right now. A hen eats around 1.5 pounds a week. Call it 90 pounds across a year. Feed 6 of them, and you're looking at somewhere near $220 a year in feed, before the ranging and the scraps ever trim it down. The store bird pays that full freight, locked in a shed. The ranging heritage hen hands part of it right back to you, in bugs and grass she caught herself. Miss this, though, and you'll overfeed a pinned-up bird and call the whole thing expensive. The savings live in the ranging. No yard time, no feed cut. And keep that feed dry and rat-proof, or you're just feeding vermin, not hens. The feed store's finest customer is a bird that can't feed herself 1 inch. They did not crowd out the forager by accident, neighbor. A hen that hunts her own supper is a hen that half empties their till. This week, if you've got even a small yard, plan out one rotating patch you'd let birds work over. You don't need the birds yet. Just go find the ground. Now, why she last? Because the modern hen is built to burn out fast, on purpose. And I can tell you the year, and I can near tell you the lab. That's next. Fifth piece, longevity. The store hen is built for a 2-year sprint. This bird runs the long race, and that difference right there is the whole con. The bird most folks get handed today is a hybrid layer, the ISA Brown, the most famous of them, built in a French breeding house back in 1978 to lay hard and fast in a cage. And she does, for about 18 to 24 months. Then she falls right off a cliff, and the industry culls her at about 2 years because she's spent. Her body was never built to last. It was built to peak and be thrown away. The Australorp lays a touch less on her very best day, But she keeps right on laying useful years past where that hybrid's already in the ground. Fewer eggs at the top, far more across her life. And when she's done, she's still a whole bird, not a worn-out part. Here's the proof, and it's the dependency laid bare. Because that hybrid burns out at 2 years, you go buy another, and another, forever. That's not a hen, friend. That's a subscription. The old dual-purpose bird broke that cycle by simply, quietly lasting. And we're almost to it now, by doing one more thing that hybrid flat out cannot. Somebody's thinking it, but the hybrid lays more eggs. For 18 months, yes, then nothing. Add it up across 5 years and the steady heritage bird buries her, and you never bought a single replacement. And if you've been on that 2-year treadmill, buying new hens like clockwork, that was the design doing its work on you. That's not a failing in you. This week, if you keep hybrids, just note the age of your oldest hen. See the pattern with your own eyes before you take my word for a thing. Which brings us to the last piece, the one they worked hardest of all to make you forget. The one thing this bird does that no store on earth will ever sell you, because the day you can do it, they have lost you. That right there is the whole answer to why they made her disappear. Right after this. Pattern break, the last one. Everything up to here, the bird, the eggs, the hardiness, the feed, the years, all of it matters. But none of it is the reason they buried her. The reason is the very next thing, and it's the oldest trick in all of farming, and they had to break it to sell you a chicken twice. One more piece before the last, though, because I owe you proof this isn't just an old man missing the past. For years, the Australorp sat on the Livestock Conservancy's watch list, a heritage breed at risk of slipping away, like so many good ones did. And then something happened that nobody in the industry planned for. Ordinary people, backyard keepers, folks like you clicking on a video just like this one, started keeping the old bird again. Enough of them that in 2023, the Conservancy graduated her clean off the endangered list. She recovered, not because some company saved her, because keepers did. So let me be honest with you, because that title bends this part too. The Australorp herself is not rare anymore. You can go and get her. What's rare is the system, the know-how, and the other dual-purpose breeds that didn't get saved in time. Some of them still hanging on the Conservancy's critical and threatened list this very day. And it isn't just nostalgia talking. Researchers studying the welfare mess of the modern egg industry now point straight at the dual-purpose bird as a real answer, on the record, in the journals. The old bird isn't behind us, friend. Some of the sharpest minds in the field are trying hard to get back to her. Somebody says, well, if she's not rare, what did they even take from me? They didn't take the bird, neighbor. They took the last thing she does. And that is the piece I've been holding this whole time. This week, go look up that Conservancy list yourself. See which dual-purpose breeds are still fighting to survive. That's the real scoreboard. Now, the buried piece. The reason a self-feeding, long-lasting, hardy bird had to be pushed off every last farm in America. Here it is. Remember that famous hen from the trial? The one who did it on nothing but daylight? I told you she wasn't a freak, and here's what I meant. She belonged to a bird that didn't just feed a family. She made more of herself. That record hen had a sister gone broody in the next box over, sitting a clutch, hatching next year's layers right there in the corner of the same yard. The whole flock renewed itself. That is what she really was. And that is exactly what they could not let you keep. Here it is. The one thing this bird does that the store will never, ever sell you. She breeds true. Put an Australorp hen under an Australorp rooster, and you get more Australorps. Not a scramble, not some lesser bird. The same good bird, again, for free, hatched in your own yard by a hen who wants to do it. And because the Australorp is one of the reliable old broody breeds, she'll go still in the box, sit her clutch the 21 days, and raise those chicks up herself. Your flock replaces itself, spring after spring after spring, and you never place another order as long as you live. Now hear why that had to be broken. That French hybrid, the 2-year bird, does not breed true. Mate 2 of them and you get a mongrel, not another layer. On purpose. The parent stock is held back by the company. You cannot make more. You can only ever rebuy. That's the answer to the whole title. That is why they made her disappear. Not a law, not a ban. Nobody outlawed a thing. A bird that hatches her own replacements is a bird they can only sell you one time. So they sold you one that can't. There was no money in you feeding yourself, and there's a fortune in you never being able to stop. But this was never really about a chicken, friend. It was about being the kind of person who doesn't have to ask anybody's permission to feed his own family. A hen in your yard that lays your eggs, raises your meat, and hatches next year without ever opening a catalog, that is not a hobby. That is a door they cannot shut on you. Your great-grandparents stood on the other side of it. You're one step from standing there yourself. One honest word on that rooster, since I told you to keep one. Whether you can depends on your town, and plenty of them limit or flat ban roosters, so check your county first. And where you can't keep one, a cheap incubator does the very same job. This is the thing they made you forget, and now you've got it back. You don't have to build all of it this week. Do one thing. This weekend, find one hatchery or one local breeder that keeps Australorps, and just learn what a started trio would take. Don't even buy. Just close the distance between you and the old bird. Your granddad most likely kept a flock like this, and somebody just didn't get the chance to pass it down to you. That's what I've been here for. I've kept the old birds my whole life. Never once ordered a replacement I could have hatched myself. Tell me down in the comments, did your people keep a dual-purpose flock? What breed was it, and did they do it different up your way? The system that gets the most comments is the one I take apart the deepest next. A bird that fed and renewed a family for 300 years, very near let go for good, and now you're one of the keepers who won't let her go. Next time, the one lost way of putting eggs by that kept a family and breakfast all winter long with no refrigerator and no store, and the year it quietly left the American kitchen for good. Keep the old ways. They kept